Real quick, when was the last time you had a conversation regarding money? Not complain about it, not stress about it in your head, but actually sat down with a family or friend or colleague, someone you trust, and had specific conversations regarding how much you're earning, how much you're saving, how much you're investing, what is the best savings account at the moment, what does your investing portfolio look like? For most people, the answer is never. Most people have never had this kind of conversations with anybody but their head. For some of us, the conversation may come up briefly until someone changes subject. And here's the thing I want to dig into today. That silence around money is not only awkward, it's not something that you inherited from your parents. It has real time measurable compounding costs in your future savings, your investments, your ability to buy a home, ability to retire, and your relationship with money itself. Today, I'm going to show you how much money not having money conversations is costing you. And I mean real money, what money conversations look like, and why talking about money is one of the highest leverage financial decisions you can do as an adult. Welcome to another episode of Money, Meaning, and Mastery with your host, Wilson Raposa. So let's dig in. Here's something worth sitting with. Money is the last thing that people want to talk about. It's a social taboo everywhere you go, and we don't hear people talking about money. Think about it. You meet your friends for brunch or you go to a bar, you talk about any topic that could be out in your life. The most personal thing out there: sports, politics, struggles with your parents, dating, sex life. But we never have open conversations about money. We don't talk about how much money we're earning, how much money we're saving, how much money we owe, how much money we are investing. We don't talk about the best savings accounts out there that gives you the most return in our money. We don't talk about our portfolio and our investment portfolio, but we talk about the most personal thing in our lives. We rather go there than talk about money. Why is that? We are so silent when it comes to our financial lives and we don't trust anybody. The only person that we trust is ourselves when we have these thoughts in our head. And the problem with that is that it's costing us money. And the institutions who benefit from us not having these conversations are the banks. The banks don't go out of their way to tell you that a high yield savings account pays you 40 to 50 times more than a standard savings account. Credit card companies don't tell you that you can call them anytime and negotiate your APR, the interest that you pay when you leave a balance on your credit card. And investment firms make their investments sound so complex because the more complex they make it, the less you understand it, the more likely you are to pay them to manage your investments. And meanwhile, the people who grew up in financially stable households, they grew up in an environment where wealth building knowledge is discussed at every dinner table, and their parents have normalized the topic of money. They talk about to always get the 401k match your employer gives you before you do anything else. They talk about to never accept the first salary offer that you get and to always negotiate. They talk about how savings is not an investment, it's just a waiting room. These are not complicated money concepts. They might be obvious to you if you grew up in an environment where somebody may have said them out loud to you at some point. For a lot of us, nobody did. Growing up in an immigrant household, in a household that was not financially stable, I never heard or never had the money conversation. I never learned about credit cards or interest rates or debt or student loans or savings or investments. The extent of the money talk that we would have is to the extent to whether we could afford something or not. I would ask my mom if I could have a candy, if I could have a toy, and the answer I will always get is I know we can't afford it. And to be fair, she was a single mom raising three kids here in the US, and she was a low earner. We were in a low income, very low income household. We relied on food stamps and Medicaid and all the good programs that help, working families. And we never had any excess money to even think about saving or think about investing. And then when I graduated college, when I had some income, I also didn't have anybody to talk to me about these same money topics. And I'm sure that for a lot of you who grew up in an immigrant household or a middle income household, the same thing was for you. Money was something that only the adults could talk about privately, but the kids could never hear about. Now, as an adult, it's been a struggle to break these barriers and normalize having money conversations. And that's exactly why I'm making this episode to start having these money conversations because not having them is costing us money. We are leaving a lot of money in the table by not having these money conversations. In fact, the recent Charles Schwab survey found that only 31% of Americans have a written financial plan. Only 31% of them. Only 45% of Gen Z are investing in the stock market today. 45% compared to 58% of all Americans. So, on average, all Americans, 58% of them are investing in the stock market, but Gen Z, only 45% of them. 55% of Gen Z don't have enough emergency savings to cover 3 months of expenses. And 37% of 25 to 34-year-olds have less than $10,000 saved in their retirement accounts. These are not people that don't care about their future. These are people who never had someone had a money conversation about where to start and where to go, where to save money and where to invest money. And the system is completely fine with that, but you don't have to be. Let's start having these money conversations now to see where we are in our financial path, to save us some pain and lessons learned, because it's costing us money now. Let's make this more specific so that I'm not just throwing words out of thin air. Let's go through 5 areas of your life where silence or not having these money conversations is costing you right now. And the first one I want to start with is with your salary. Median earnings for 25 to 34-year-olds in the US is around $57,000 per year. Depending on where you live in the US, this might be sufficient money for you to survive on or not. But most people in that income bracket accepted their salary offer without negotiating and without any idea of what the market is paying for the role. Did you ever had a conversation with anyone about salary negotiations? Did you know that you can negotiate a salary and not take the first offer that you get from an employer? Many of us don't even think about negotiating. We are just glad and grateful that we find a job, that we finally have a job, especially if you've been waiting to get in a job or interviewing for weeks or months. And the last thing we think about is negotiating because we don't want to jeopardize that offer. But we may not know that we can actually negotiate our salary when we get an offer unless we had a conversation with someone about it. I didn't know this in the start of my career, and I started a job that at that time I was very grateful for because I was 5 months after graduation without any job. And I got a job, any job, which was a great job itself, but the pay was really bad until I had a conversation with a colleague about how much they're earning, how much they were making, and obviously it was somebody that was of comparable skills and job responsibilities. And I realized they were earning $15 to $20,000 more than I was earning back at that time. And obviously, $15 to $20,000 is a big amount of money. But if you think about, it's not just what you're losing right now, is also the compounded amount of that money every time you get a raise. And this is money that I was leaving on the table, which compounds over time. Every subsequent raise that I receive in my career is likely a percentage of my existing salary, which means a lower starting salary not only affects me on year one, it affects me into every role I take in my career and how much money I make at each of these roles. Meaning that if you are in this position, you're not only losing money now, you're also losing the compounded amount of that money year after year. Just because you're not having these money conversations with your family, friends, and colleagues and find out that you can actually negotiate a salary. Negotiating your salary is actually one of the highest leverage financial moves that you can do because it not only affects your earnings now, it affects your earnings in the future. Second, savings account. Have you ever heard of high yield savings accounts? Do you know the difference between high yield savings accounts and standard savings account? Do you know how much money you earn in your current savings account? As of late 2024, the gap between the standard savings account and a high yield savings account is over 4% APY, annual percentage yield. That means that if you have $10,000 saved in a standard savings account, you'll probably earn $10 a year compared to $450 in a high yield savings account. If you have $20,000 saved in a high yield savings account, you will be earning $900 every year, which is money that you're leaving in the table because you're not having conversations about money, because no one around you is telling you that there is a better way to save money. Or unless you grab a book, which is the same way I learned a lot about of my the personal finance topics, how to save, how to invest, and whatnot. It was from a book called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" by Rabbi Sethi. But if you're not having these money conversations and you're not grabbing a book yourself, how are you supposed to know that there's a better way to save? You're leaving all this money on the table. The third area of your life where silence regarding money is costing us is investing, of course. Many of us don't start investing until we are in our 30s. And many of us don't know that when it comes to investing, starting early earns us more money due to the time nature of compounding. A 25-year-old that invests $240 a month based on a 9% annual return will likely be a millionaire by the time they are 65 at retirement. A 35-year-old, someone that is starting 10 years later, will have to invest a lot more money per month in order to reach the same milestone exactly because of time. Time is the only asset that works in one direction, and yet only a quarter of Gen Z is investing in retirement accounts. Morgan Housel, just one of my financial mentors, puts it this way: doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And behavior is shaped by what you see model around you. If nobody in your circle invests, investing never becomes normal. So if we're not normalizing investing conversations in our friends, circles, or environment, how are we supposed to know how to invest and grow our money? Again, silence is costing us money. Another area where silence regarding money is costing us is the compounding cost of time. And this one I want to slow down because this one is irreversible in a way that others aren't. Let's say that two people, Maya and Sam, they're both 25, earning the same amount of money. Maya has conversations with someone that explains the rule of compounding, Roth IRA, savings, and investments. So she starts investing at the age of 25, $300 a month. Okay. And she does it only for 10 years. For only 10 years, from 25 to 35, and then never invests a dollar ever again. Okay. Now let's look at Sam. Sam never has these money conversations or conversations regarding investing. He doesn't know anything about investing until the age of 35, which is when he starts investing the same amount of money, $300 a month, until 65, the age of retirement. So Maya invests only for 10 years from 25 to 35, whereas Sam invests from 35 to 65, 30 years. Guess who ends up with more money? Of course, Maya, because Maya started earlier. And this is where I want to hit home with you guys today. Not having these conversations regarding money is costing us money now, it's costing us money in the future. Every year you wait to have conversations regarding savings, investing, credit cards, buying a house, buying a car, any money conversation or any money topic that you will encounter in your life is costing you money. And underneath all of this is the money mindset that we grew up with. Ramit Sethi talks about this, these invisible scripts, these unconscious money decisions that we make based on our upbringing. Things like money is the root of all evil. You heard this before. So we shouldn't chase money. We shouldn't be ambitious, right? Rich people are greedy. We don't talk about money in this family. I'm just not good with numbers. These are scripts that run in our background and dictate every financial decision that we make. Every time you don't negotiate, every time you don't ask for a raise, every time you don't invest a dollar in the best investments out there. These are invisible scripts that are dictating every single decision that you make in your financial life. And if you don't have money conversations and you don't say these things aloud, these scripts are dictating your financial moves. They would never be challenged. They would never be changed because all you keep them in your head and that's how you run your financial moves on. So it's important that we have these money conversations so that things that do not benefit us financially are let go and we adopt new ways of thinking when it comes to money. All right, so here is what I want to give you, not just awareness about how much money is costing us, not talking about money, but I want to give you four ways that you can bring up money in conversations starting this week or before the end of this week, right? Four conversations, specific ones with exact framing to open that because I wanted to start talking about money. And the first one I want to start with is the benchmark conversation with a peer or colleague. A benchmark is basically what you're going to compare your salary with. This is the salary conversations and the framing or the way that you bring up this salary conversation matters enormously, because you don't want to go around and asking people, oh, how much you're earning, can you tell me your salary, and then compare your salary to that. No, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is set a benchmark, and you want to make the other person comfortable in sharing this number with you. Again, you're not the only one that doesn't want to have these money conversations. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing your salary out loud, think about the other perspective of the person that you're going to have this conversation with. They may also not be comfortable sharing their salary. So, the way that you want to start this conversation, you're not going to start with, okay, tell me how much you make, right? Start with this. And I wrote it down here because I wanted you to say it out loud. I'm heading into a performance review and I want to make sure that I'm positioning myself correctly. Have you ever benchmarked your role against what the market pays? What did you find? This positions you as someone that wants to learn and not simply compare salaries, okay? It gives the other person an easy way to say yes and have an open, real conversation with you, because many of them want to have these conversations. They just don't know how to start it, or they don't want to start it. You starting them gives them permission to be open about it. And I want you to do this before your next review, not during your review. I want you to do this before your next review, and you can have these conversations with multiple people with the same credentials, with the same experience, the same industry, so that you can have information about it and then have the time to actually do research about it, so you can position yourself well in your next performance review. Okay. The second conversation, the savings rate conversations with a financially switch on person or friend. This one is lower stakes and higher information density than almost any other money conversation you can have, because you're not here specifically asking about a specific number. You're not asking how much money they're saving or how much money they're making. You're just asking general information about the systems that they have in place with regard to savings. This one, can you can just ask conversation in a conversation. You can bring it up in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to go somewhere along like this. Where are you keeping your emergency fund? What interest rate are you getting on it? Have you ever moved savings out of a regular savings account? This conversation is going to be more open ended because it's hopefully going to be about a high yield savings account. And the conversation can go in any direction, but hopefully, what you're going to hear is, hey, I did switch my emergency fund from my standard savings account to a high yield savings account, and now I'm earning 4% more on it. And it only took me 20 minutes to set up. It's going to hit you really hard there because it only took them 20 minutes to set it up. You can easily do this yourself very quickly. And whether you have $500, $1,000 saved in your savings account, any amount of money, just making the switch will set you up for future success. So you want to have this conversation and just, get information and start taking action on that. The third conversation that you're going to have at the end of this week is the investing conversation with someone who is one financial chapter ahead of you. Vivian too says that the most important financial relationship that you can have is with someone that is one step or two ahead of you. Not a guru, not an expert, but someone that is navigating the same questions that you are navigating now. They're just a few steps ahead of you. And this conversation is also going to be a little bit easy because you're not going to ask them how much money you have invested. This one is more about asking what kind of portfolio, what their portfolio is composed of, what kind of investments do they have, how do they start about investing. So the question or a conversation can go with something like this. What did you wish someone had told you about investing when you were my age? What would you do differently if you were starting now? This is just very open ended. This positions you in a way that you want to learn and gives you the opportunity for the other person to help. People love helping, and especially if it's something that they've been successful on, they want to share and teach others about their ways. Just 1 hour conversation that you're going to have with someone that is a chapter or two ahead of you is going to be worth more than 6 months of a financial advisor, because their advice will be specific, will be honest, and they already been through the same shoes that you are walking on. This is the quality of guidance or advice that people who grew up with these conversations at the dinner table have. And I want you to take advantage of that. Just look around and see who might be somebody that is already investing and could tell you or a thing or two about it. Fourth, the conversation about mindset, the money mindset conversations with yourself first. This one is the foundation of everything that is built in regards to money. Before any practical conversations you can have with anybody else, have a conversations about money with yourself. Ask yourself, what did I learn about money growing up? What do people around me believe around money? What's the story I tell myself about whether I'm someone who is good with money or not? And I want you to write the answer to each of these questions. Literally, write it down because once you write it down, it becomes visible. And visibility and awareness is the first step to change, okay? Ramit Sethi says this best. He says that if you know your numbers and master your money psychology, you have a very good shot at a rich life. Most people try to skip straight to the numbers, but the psychology is where the numbers live. Here is what I want you to walk away with today. The money conversations that you are not having, they're not rude, they're not inappropriate. They are the exact mechanism through which people who have built wealth have built their wealth. Not through superior intelligence, not through picking the right stock and hitting the lottery. Through informal, ongoing exchange of information when it comes to money and making decisions accordingly. Your salary conversation is worth having. Your savings rate conversation is worth having. Your investment conversation, your debt conversation, your money mindset conversation is worth going through the awkwardness of having these conversations first. You don't have to have everything figured out. All you have to do is start with one of these conversations and start making changes today. So give yourself permission to go around and ask and have these money conversations and learn from them. And remember, the progress is better than perfection. So start having these money conversations today. Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope that you enjoyed this episode and learned a thing or two about why having these money conversations are very important and what is costing us. If you know anyone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share it with them and hit a like and hit a follow button. I would love to see you around in future episodes as well. And if you are on Instagram or TikTok, please follow me at yes.wilson. I also post daily videos there, short form videos that go from any topics from career, money, and leverage. Thanks, friends, and I will see you on the next one.